Okay, let's briefly talk about shapes and colors and those kind of things, just real quick. So I'm going to take my text wrap tool panels and just kind of hide it for now. And let's go down to a rectangle tool. Just like we've had a rectangle tool in other programs, I'm going to click and drag and just drag out a rectangle all the way across from safe area to safe area. Now you can see if I click on my preview, it's created just two black lines, what look like two black lines. It's really a square, but the black lines go off my page, so it looks like just two lines. And the reason it does is because this square only has a stroke. So let's actually flip that over. You can see I have a fill and a stroke color. I'm just going to flip it over so it's filled with black. And nothing happened because I don't actually have it selected. So let me go back and select it and change it to black. Now we're looking good. So now we have a black line. Um, this is just like a shape. It's a vector shape, just like in Illustrator and in Photoshop. And it actually will never get rasterized. It'll be a vector shape, which will print beautifully. But you may not want black. You may want blue. So let's go over to our color panel with this selected, and let's choose a color blue. Now this is a little bit more confusing than the other programs because when you went to color you got different options. Now if you just have black, it's going to only remember black and white. It's going to try and save all that information to be more efficient. There's a little square box. The two arrows that hide this color palette, but there's this arrow next to a bunch of lines, what look like a bunch of lines. If you click and hold on that, you get a whole bunch of other options. Hide options, lab, CMYK, RGB, add to swatches. We want to change this to CMYK. In CMYK, if you remember, I didn't really go into much detail about it, but that's what we want to use for print. And as soon as you click on CMYK, you get a whole bunch of options. You get a CMYK slider for each one of those letters. And I'm going to actually crank the K down, which is black, and we'll see all of our colors. So we have cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And right now, if we have them all at 0, so we have all our percentages at 0, you can see my box is white. If I wanted a pink box or a magenta box, I would just raise the magenta to 100. I could also raise the cyan to 100 to create a kind of a purpley blue. And if I'm good with that, then I can leave that alone. What's also nice is you could add this to a swatch. So let's say we like this color and we're going to use this color in many different places. So I'm going to add it to a swatch. So now I just have that one line because now it's a swatch. And it lives up here. So in your swatch panels, you can see you have this exact color. Now you could scroll through and you could have multiple swatches and add new swatches, and we'll talk about that a little bit more detail later. But this is a really useful tool, is to be able to add swatches. Most of the time you're just going to go to your color, you're going to have it on CMYK, and you're going to choose a color. You can also kind of use the eyedropper down here and change it and kind of get close to what you want. If you wanted to actually select something out of the image, you could use the eyedropper tool and select a blue out of the image. Now notice this is an RGB image, so it selected an RGB color, which we get a little exclamation point by because we need a CMYK color for print. So just know that most of your pictures should be CMYK, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the advanced class. But that's pretty much drawing a square. You could use the pen tool and fill it in with the same color. I'm going to change this to CMYK, and you'll see there is a slight color shift when you change it to CMYK. So just know that it happens, and that's creating a shape. And just like in Illustrator, if you create a shape and you just click on the background, you can actually choose the options. So if you were to do a more advanced shape like the polygon tool, and you wanted to create 20 stars Um, Now the options are a little different with percentages and stuff like that, but you get the idea. You can create a seal real easy, and maybe we say this is the best newsletter ever since we have a cool title. We change the color to a gold color, so something like that. And then we change the stroke, just like in Illustrator. We change the stroke to a different color. We make it 7, and right now it just looks like it got bigger because the stroke is the same color as the fill, and that's easy enough. We can change that to maybe a black color, maybe a red color. I don't know. Okay, so that's I like that. I don't know why I do, but I do. Um, so now we have a stroke and a fill on that shape. So just like in Illustrator, you can go to town on these shapes, get super crazy, and really get some interesting things. So play with the shapes, bleed them off the page. Now remember, if we go back to our normal preview, you can see that's way off the page, and that's fine. That's not going to hurt us at all. That's actually more than exactly what we want. More than fine is what I was going to say. So this is what your page will look like when it's actually finished and when it's into the printer. So play with shapes, bleed them off the page. You can also uh, change colors. I just want to briefly touch on this. Anything that has a shape, you can actually change the color. Most of the time, you don't want to do this. 99% of the time, you never want to do this. But if you wanted a background color around your text, you could change this to CMYK and change it to green. And now green is in that box behind there. Now, see, what I would do is actually, I don't like this because now your text is lining up with that color. I would create a shape and put it behind it. That way you have more control. But just know if, depending on what you're selected on, that's the color you're choosing. So if you accidentally do that, you can always choose the white square with the line through it and make no fill. So just remember, just like Photoshop, depending on what you're selected on, it depends on what color you're affecting. So play with shapes, play with colors, and we want to talk about saving in the next video, and then we'll be done and ready for our homework of creating a some sort of flyer.